Welcome everybody to another episode of Let's Talk Games. Are we at 60 yet? God, it feels like it.
I think so, actually.
It feels like it's been 60 years.
Yeah.
My name is
Yes,
Dan.
this is
As you can
60.
see in the middle is Chunt, and to the right, Jamie. We have a little bit of news this week. How you boys been? You been all right?
Fabulous.
Yeah, man, not too bad. I wish it stopped raining, but yeah, pretty good.
You're in the UK. It's always raining. It's fine.
I mean, specifically
Yeah.
where I am in the UK, it literally does always rain, like, without fail.
You feel real good.
My life's been pretty fantastic lately.
Get me
So
back on that plane, boys.
Well, to ignore the outside, ignore the rain. What have you been doing inside? What have you been playing, Jamie?
Oh, it's a nice little segue there. Segue. We'll get it out of the way first. After last week, I grabbed Returnal, like literally after we recorded. And I've played a good chunk of that over the week. I very much like it. I find the trappings of it are very similar to Hades, which, as anybody who's watched week in week out will know, that I very much enjoyed Hades around Christmas time. It was one of my games of the year for last year, and this is it's hitting all those same boxes. Difficult as hell. It's really, really, really hard. It's not a simple or easy video game. It's very pretty in terms of the way they use particle effects and stuff. I actually steered away from a lot of the, like the Digital Foundry coverage and stuff like beforehand. I know they've kind of dissected it to within a T. I think on a larger display, you can tell that it's not super sharp, like it's not using real 4K assets across the board. But it's not taken away from anything for me. It's the DualSense. If this is the start of how that's going to be used, then I may have to at some point in the next year take the crown off of the Elite controller and put it on the DualSense, because it's magic. Like, it really is. It adds a whole sort of third, fourth, fifth layer to the immersion. So yeah, super happy with it. Anything else that I managed to play? I played a bit of Rogue Company, mainly just to like annihilate Chunt's gamer score for the month.
yeah.
Which I think I've pretty much achieved. I'm a good chunk away ahead of you, and you've got like 8 days to catch me up, and I don't see it happening.
No.
But yeah, that's been me.
Yeah, well, I've been playing Returnal as well, and sending my videos to you guys. As I said, Jamie, you are much better at this game than I am, so I don't know why I'm sharing my videos to you.
Yeah, but you see, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Like, you probably needed less attempts at that second buy-in boss than I did. I was stuck on it for like a whole 3 hours. Like, it was ridiculous.
I had a few times, but it's interesting. You go through the second biome and you get a rhythm to what you're meant to do. Like, I just stayed in the first biome as long as possible, getting everything I needed, and then just like went through the second biome as fast as possible, because I didn't want to go off to any of the side things, because I'm like, I'm not going to survive here as long as I would in the first. But yeah, I didn't talk.
Have you discovered in the third one that you can jump straight from the first to the third?
Yeah, and there's that shortcut, and I'm like, God damn it! I've got to really plan this out properly. But yeah, I didn't talk about the DualSense as much last week, and it really is cool. And at one point during the week, I actually had it down, so I had to mute the TV for something, because I think Monique was listening to something, and I had to mute it. And so all I was hearing was the controller, and it wasn't even the sounds coming out of like the microphone. It was the actual vibrations making these cool, like when you use a sword and it goes whoop, whoop, and it's just the vibration. You're like, Jesus, what the hell is that thing? Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, a lot of Returnal this week, not as much Age of Empires, but I got one Age of Empires game in. So Chunt, over to you. What have you been playing?
Look, still making my way through the Master Chief Collection with the little 80s, and it's been a great time when you discount the lag that happens. But revisiting all those Halo games has been great. Like, regardless, it's just I haven't played any Halo games for such a long time, and just takes me way back. Like, all those games, man, I played them constantly back in the day, and it's just nice to revisit. But it's not a game that I played, but I want to talk about it anyway. I was just talking to Jamie about it before we came on, and Resident Evil Village. I watched Maximilian Dude's playthrough of the whole game, because there's no way in hell I'm buying it. I'm a sook. I don't like horror games. I don't like being scared. So I'll watch someone else play it happily. And he's entertaining anyway, and I enjoy his content. So made sense. And my God, that is a frightening game. I don't know if you guys have even had a taste of the game yet, but wow. Like I mentioned to you guys the other night, there's that one sequence. I'm not going to spoil it for people, but there's this one sequence in the game. I had to pause the video. I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? It was the most disturbing thing I've seen in a long time. But otherwise, it's so atmospheric. It's so atmospheric. It's creepy. And when he's running away from things, even I'm feeling it. You know that feeling when you feel like someone's right on your back, you know? Oh my God. Oh, that game has so much of that, and I'm not even playing it. Man, it's just well done, Capcom, I guess. They've nailed it for what that game is. But yeah, have you guys even watched anything of that game or played any of it yet?
I've seen a few bits of it, yeah. Like, it looks pretty ridiculous.
It's really weird with that and Resident Evil 7. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to play them, but I've always actively avoided spoilers from them. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, it's like one day I might play it, but I'm also like, you chant like movies and pretty much any other entertainment, I don't get scared in stuff, like, ever. But in video games, it always gets me, like, every single time. So yeah, I stay away from it.
Yep, that's me. I'm done.
Well, we'll move on. There was a little clarification this week that these first two stories are kind of just simple thoughts, because it's not really surprising. It's just a nice thing to bring up. But I'm going to start with Starfield. Actually, pretty much confirmed as an exclusive for Xbox. Nothing we didn't know. The only little bit, I guess, that is a little contention is that you had some rumors saying, Starfield's been ready since September and it's ready to go this year and it's going to come out. And then you had reporters like Jason Schreier and stuff saying, guys, it's going to probably be shown at E3, but this is like a late 2022. So, Chant, I'll go with you first on this one. Like, just your thoughts about the week that was a weird little rumor.
Yeah, look, I saw the banter online, and the unhappy Sony people were like, "No, I still don't believe it." It's like, well, you believe it or not. I mean, all the insiders are saying the same thing, that it's Xbox exclusive to Xbox and PC. Deal with it like it's part of that Bethesda purchase, and you just have to imagine that. The conversations back with Todd and Phil that we saw on interviews where even Todd said, look, we went back on the game and started rebuilding the engine with the new tech that we got, like basically through Microsoft, just to make a better game. So, that would be on par with like, well, that you need to put it on Xbox exclusive if you want that tech. You're part of our team now, blah, blah, blah. All makes sense. But yeah, there's no way in hell that's coming out this year. I am not even in the mind of preparing it for 2022. I really don't, but we'll see. I think that game got put on hold a long time ago when Bethesda were being shopped around like years ago, before Microsoft even entered the fray. I don't think that game's that far along. I don't even think it's going to be that big, to be honest, just from what I'm reading. I don't think it's going to be like Skyrim or Oblivion or Fallout level, but I'm happily ready to be proven wrong. But yeah, that's great. It's just another feather in the cap. Like, Xbox are gearing up to play dirty now, man. Like, you see all the games come in the Game Pass, like Outriders, and now this and everything else for Bethesda. It's like we've been biding our time, and now it's time to play ball. Yeah, I'm happy with this news. And
Jamie, do you think that E3 will be the moment they just put it down and say, listen, this is an exclusive, it's coming, just to shut people up? If they are going to show something, do you think E3 is the time that they can just shut it all down?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but one of the first things that was on my feed when I woke up this morning was the fact that Microsoft and Bethesda have committed to kind of a joint thing for E3. So
yes,
it's a no-brainer. Like, I actually agree with Chun. I don't think this is going to be an enormous video game. I think it is in terms of, yes, it's the first new IP that Todd Howard and team have worked on in 25 years. But for me, they've got no goodwill left. Do you know what I mean? Like, they need to earn some goodwill back. Like they've had a few pretty big missteps in this last generation. So I think what surprises people more about this is knowing that it's so far away probably doesn't allow for them to move into Elder Scrolls. I think that's the thing that's actually annoying people by them saying, oh, this is still a good way out. It's like, well, if this is still a good way out, then just how far away is Elder Scrolls? Like, is it going to completely miss this next this console generation? When you figure that they usually spend 5 or 6 years working on a specific game, which a lot of people don't understand that Bethesda, like this Bethesda team, you know, the Bethesda Game Studios team, Todd Howard's team, were working on Fallout 76 until last year.
Yeah.
So anything that was built before then is just proof of concept stuff. It was just like an engine, like them mucking around with things, you know, maybe having an art director or a designer kind of work up some mock-up and some kind of placeholder material just to get in a game world and start testing some stuff. I think all of the leaks and things we've seen are from that type of development because it looks trash. If you've seen any of these leaks, like if that came out, it would get rinsed into, and again, pardon the pun, oblivion. So yeah, it doesn't shock me. I think to answer your actual question, sorry, I was just getting my 2 cents in on the whole Bethesda thing. Yes, they'll show it at E3. Yes, it'll be on Microsoft's stage, obviously. I think it will be the transition point between the two conferences because I think it's kind of they're going to roll them into one another. So I'd envisage that Bethesda go first, Starfield's shown, and then it's like, and it's only coming to the Xbox platform wherever Game Pass is, roll into the Microsoft conference. That's how I see it panning out.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think Microsoft even probably just want to do it just to get it over and done with now. Now that they know everything's kind of on track and they don't have to wait for NDAs and things like that anymore. I think they'll get through it, and yeah, I think people also don't keep forgetting, like Bethesda Studios literally work on a game at a time. Like that's why there's 4 years between a Fallout game and then an Elder Scrolls game, and they've always done it like that, and this might be the first time they're breaking up that, having it in Starfield. But the designers on Fallout 76, once the game was in full production with all their developers, are probably designing Starfield, and then once Fallout 76 was kind of running, they would have started moving developers onto all the stuff from Starfield. So it's still far away, but it'll come. Do you guys think it's going to be like the size of like a Prey? Like, is that what we're thinking?
I think it's just going to be a small experience, to be honest. I really don't think. Maybe like 5 hours, maybe 8 hours, nothing bigger.
I think that's low. I don't think it's going to be that small. No. I think it's going to be your typical.
And then it is.
Yeah. It's going to be your typical 25, 30 hour main campaign experience. The thing is, we know nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well,
people are very excited for a game that know nothing about.
Yeah, and it's like, well, there's rumors about space travel and being able to kind of No Man's Sky from planet to planet. If they're going down that route, then you'd have to think that world's pretty big. But then is it a case of there's just 6 or 7 planets and, you know, they're all in kind of one system and you just hop around in your spaceship to them and you can fly in space. We know they've tested anti-grav tech so that there's moonwalking and things in it. That's kind of been confirmed, you know, via developers saying that they have worked with zero grav and moonwalking for Starfield, which is pretty cool. So, you know, are you on a space station? Can you just jump out of the space station and kind of, you know, Captain Marvel your way down to Earth? Like, that would be hilarious. But again, unless their technology has had some serious overhauling, I don't see how the what's their engine called? It's the Creation Engine, decades old. Unless it's had a serious overhaul and some Microsoft polish, then I don't see them being able to put a tool set like that into that engine at all. So I'm really low on the hype scale for Starfield.
I didn't catch
I think it's going to be not bad, but I don't think it's going to be good. And I hope I eat my words. I genuinely do. Fallout 4 was great, but it was also this is a good video game, which probably could have come out last generation. This is it's quite dated already, and you think about their technology since then. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, we'll see. Like I said, they've lost all goodwill with me, so.
We need to have a discussion one time about which studios are just in the doghouse, and because between all our usual favourites, they're all shit.
But they're all coming off pretty bad generations.
Naughty Dog, CD Projekt, BioWare, Bethesda, like they're all just on a great place.
All of these traditional heavy hitters, they've had bad games or they've had bad press. So,
well, there's a good segue here.
There is. I didn't even think of that one. Anyway, now we're talking about PlayStation, and so there was an article last week which we didn't talk about, and there's not much you can really take from it. There's probably something exciting in it that I like to do, but Herman Hulse came out last week, and just in a Wired article, there was a little mention that essentially that they've got 25 PlayStation Studios has 25 games they're making exclusively for the console. Of that 25, almost half of them are new IP, and they seem very, very confident in that article about Forbidden West coming out this year. That there was no mention of God of War Ragnarok, which makes you think that game still ain't coming, but they were very confident about Horizon. So I guess the thing I found interesting about it is, as he said that, my mind just ticks over to the studios, and I'm like, all right, so they're working on that and that and that, and by them talking about PlayStation Studios, I don't think they're talking about the third-party stuff. Like, I don't think they're talking about Final Fantasy 16 coming as part of that group. I don't know. I'm reading into it. Jamie, did you grab anything from this? Is there anything that interests you under the just base headline?
I mean, other than the fact that there's 13 are rumored to be new IP and 12 are sequels. That was the split or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm more interested by what the new IP would be, because we know, obviously, you think like teams like Insomniac, obviously they've been working on Ratchet, but they're also working on some form of Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean? So it's like these studios,
and they have a third studio too.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So they've got 3 studios then. So they're pumping out 3 games, 2 of which are probably going to be sequels. Well, 1 of which is going to be sequel. You'd like to think whoever's working on Ratchet maybe does something new, that team. So you maybe get 2 new properties out of them, and then you get your sequel in Spider-Man. So it's not unfathomable. We know that Naughty Dog massively ramped up staff. And there have been rumors to have 2 projects in the work, as well as, what was that studio called that they had kind of build
the remake for Last of Us.
The remake for Last of Us. Like, they've basically been absorbed into Naughty Dog, haven't they? And Bend as well. There was rumors that they were getting absorbed into Naughty Dog. So you'd like to think that Naughty Dog are probably putting 3 out, of which maybe 2 are new IP. Well, 1 is a new IP. One of them will be in the Uncharted universe. It might not be a direct sequel, but it will be in that universe. And then, the other is a remaster or remake of the first Last of Us. So they've got 3 games. So it's not difficult to start getting those types of numbers when you go 25 exclusives. We've just spoke about 2 studios and we're at 6. So as to where anything else was coming from inside of there, I hope there is some new and creative stuff. I'm not too familiar with all of their first parties, so they're the ones that kind of stood out to me. It's like, what can they make? Obviously, what's her name that's just been contracted to do a Sony Studios game? Jade Raymond, was it? She's
Jade Raymond. Yeah.
So interested to see what she does, because I'm actually of this ilk where everybody's excited by what she's going to do next. She's not delivered a project in 13 years, 14 years. So, great that she's got a bit of oomph behind her, but she's a producer. She's not a game developer. So, do you know what I mean? So what's her studio going to produce? She hasn't had a team deliver a project for a decade and a half. So, jury's out. I'm hoping it's good, but there's another one for you. So what if what if she's got two games? What if that studio's doing two things? Like, is Kojima's next thing a PlayStation Studios kind of built? Is it being funded by PlayStation? Like, you don't know. There's so many ways that it could go. We don't know enough, and I think that we're going to see a lot of it at E3. Not actually at E3 because PlayStation are not going to E3, but they'll do their own thing around the time. I think we'll get an update on what some of them are working on then. You know, a bit similar to what they did in, was it 2018, when it was like, we knew that they had like Spider-Man coming, they had Last of Us Part 2 coming, they had what was it called, Death Stranding. Like they basically just showed, it's like, these are what all our studios are working on, they're all coming in the next 3 years kind of thing, and they had that slate and it was just pump. I think they'll do something similar to that, because that was a lot of, not in-game footage. It was a lot of trailers, like in-engine CGI stuff. I can see that being their E3 this year. And we'll get a lot closer to knowing what those 25 games are.
I think in the article, he makes a point of, being like, very different scales of there's bigger ones and smaller ones. And I think that was absolutely a reaction to that, the Schreier article that came out saying that they're just going for the big blockbusters type thing. Like they're trying to say, oh, we got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But yeah, I can see about half.
It comes in. It's like Housemarque, right? So it's. Don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying Returnal, but it's not a $70 pound video game. It's not. It isn't. It's not a studio blockbuster. It is an indie title. It is a small experience with. Is it 6 biomes? 6 replayable
6
biomes.
or 5.
Some cool technology thrown behind it, but it's not The Last of Us. It's not Uncharted. It's not Spider-Man. It's not that kind of a commitment. You could probably get that level of investment out of it per, time per video game, but nah, I think that's where they've got a. All right, yeah, we're going to charge you $70 for the next Last of Us game. We're going to charge you $70 for the next Spider-Man game. That hopefully isn't just a DLC piecemeal add-on like Miles Morales was, which, it wasn't priced at $70. It was cheaper. So like something like Returnal being full $70, I don't understand. So Sony need to get that thing where it's like, I know Kenna's not a Sony Studios game, but it's showing up for me on my pre-order store anyway. It's 32, so £32. It's like, all right, so that gives me a bit of an indication to this game is probably going to be about 15 hours max. It'll be a nice little world, but I'm probably going to be able to sit and finish it in a weekend. And then if I want to go and explore it, I can. Do you know what I mean? It's like it sets that precedent of this is the kind of type of level of game that you're playing. And as long as Jim Ryan's in charge of Sony, you're not going to get that. More games are going to be $70 than have any right to be. Cough, Godfall.
God, that Kino game just sounds so good. If that is what that's what it is, I'm like, I'm so ready for that.
It's the only video game I actually have pre-ordered.
John, what were your read on just one going to Wired as an article again, and a very specific timing that this stuff comes out? Did you get a read on any of it?
Oh, look, it's going to be, every game's going to be a third-person action walking simulator, and they're all going to have the same game mechanics, and everyone's going to love everything that Sony does. My prediction, it's going to be 25 games of that. No, look, I want them to go back to some really unique, like PS1 era IP, like Parappa the Rapper. I want to see another one of that, or an Joe Malami. If you want to have the female demographic or something, I don't know. I just hope these 25 games are unique experiences. Like Returnal just proves that people want it. I mean, I was amazed by Returnal, and I haven't even played the damn thing. I'm all for that. I'm just kind of tired of the same Sony staple that they keep putting out. Big AAA, yeah, cool, but they're all the same. It's just a different skin. You see those videos on Twitter going around where they just have the same Sony games, and they have like snippets, vertical slices of each game, and they all look the same. It's just different characters,
Third person plus grass.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all that kind of stuff.
Trees
something
and
else, man. Yeah, basically. So I'm hoping that 25 games gives us some diversity in game types or game experiences and worlds and whatever. Hell, go back to Infamous if you have to. I want to see another one of that. You know, that kind of stuff I'm interested in. But Bushido Blade, man, bring back Bushido Blade. I loved that game back in the day. That's a real deep cut. But yeah, that kind of stuff I'm looking for. That's what I hope.
I think you brought this up during the week, Jamie. Like the two like full on exclusives on PlayStation 5, like only on PlayStation 5, is Demon Souls and Returnal, which are two fucking hard games for people to get
zero
into.
accessibility to your exclusives at the moment, and neither of them they don't have a difficulty slider. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just you're in for a hard time. That's your message with your exclusives at the moment.
Astrobot, man.
That's true.
Shovelware.
And then they're following up with Ratchet. So, you know, and then Horizon might be in the middle ground. Hopefully, that's their play for.
Do you still think that's happening this year?
Yeah, I do. I think they talked about it so much in that article, and they talked about how they managed to get all their performance capture done, and through remote, like people sending stuff to people's homes and doing the performance capture in their own home, like stuff like that. Like they talked a lot about it. I think they're really gunning for it, but
it's also not an exclusive. It's coming to PlayStation 4, so we can't lump that in that barrel. Really,
true. That is true. Also, I think someone brought it up this week. I saw that, like, when God of War's release date was announced, like officially, it was like 3 months before the game came. So, I think around that E3 time is, if it's going to come this year, that's when it comes. That release date. But I think we should move on to our final topic, boys. And there was some news this week, mainly affecting, you know, the TV world and the movie world, where Warner Brothers with Warner and Discovery merging together to create shit for HBO Max in America, blah blah blah. But we don't care about that because we talk about games. And part of that was that the Warner Brothers Interactive is apparently going to be, their 11 studios is going to be split up in that moment. And they don't know who or why or what. We know that there was stories last year about them possibly selling off, and mainly because AT&T have this massive debt, which they brought into it because they wanted to get content going, and they were going to sell off the games department. One thing I will note, and I was looking at it before we came on before, you know, they're probably not looking very kindly on their gaming division at the moment, simply because they have not released a game like from any of their studios since like 2019. So there's been 2 years of just paying people to work, and there's been no work. You know, you've had Mortal Kombat 11 with the DLC and things, but like a fully new release game. There's nothing coming this year. Probably a Lego title is probably somewhere in there, I think. But next year is apparently Hogwarts Legacy. Apparently, normally 2021 would be a NetherRealm game, because ever since 2013 or 2011, they've released a game every 2 years, whether it's Injustice or Mortal Kombat. But I assume they're not going to bring out anything this year. So I can see why they're looking at the games division and being like, we need to get some of this. But what are you guys thinking about some of this stuff about the studios getting split? Chunt, I'll go with you first, because I know how big of an Injustice fan you are. And
man, it's a mess. It's just more Warner Brothers mess. And like AT&T, they're in like 150 or 180 billion dollars debt. So they're selling it off, and I think Discovery is picking up 74% of it or something, of whatever. So they're splitting it that way. So there's Warner Media and Discovery going to be shaking hands and stuff, but AT&T is going to hold on to some of the gaming division stuff, and I don't know how they're going to navigate this shit. It's just fuck off. Like, forget it. I have no idea how they're going to get through this stuff. Like Gotham Knights, cool. They'll put that out. Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, cool. You put that out, depending on how far along that is. But it's just like their movie division. I don't know how they can work their way through this. There's so much red tape and so many executives in the way and so many people wanting to leave their mark on stuff. But in saying that, two of the guys that are heads of Discovery and Warner Media now, they're old school Hollywood, so they have an idea of what they're doing. But I am concerned about their gaming division stuff, what they're doing. I think AT&T want to just disappear back as a communications conglomerate. You know, I think they put their finger in the water and like, wow, we don't want any of this because there's Snyder Cut everywhere. You know, and just too many egos in the pot at Warner Brothers. Yeah, look, I have no faith in what this plan is. I really don't. Warner Brothers have some of the richest IP on the planet, and they just can't do anything with it for some reason. You know, they can't. Why is there not a Superman game? You know, why? It's not hard. The tech is there. Why don't we have a Justice League game? You know, why don't we have, I don't know, XYZ, like Green Lantern game, an Aquaman game? You can pass that off. Aquaman made $1 billion. Why aren't there all this other stuff happening? Besides Mad Max 2, like that, Mad Max is great. Matrix, they could just dip their toe in that again. There's a new movie coming out. Where's the tie-in for that? You know, you can go all on and on and on. But it's just more Warner Brothers and noise. I have zero faith in whatever they're going to do, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. But yeah, look, as far as NetherRealm goes, just to touch on that, I think they're going to dabble in a Marvel game. There was a rumor going around a few weeks ago, and there was an interview from 2019 that resurfaced where he was asked about that. Would he work on a Marvel game? And he's like, he dropped something saying, yeah, we'd love to, or there's been talks or something, and he kind of stopped himself from continuing. So I think that's happening. I think they're going to take a break from Injustice, and I think the next Mortal Kombat is going to be a completely different game when you look at how Mortal Kombat 11 ended. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm dirty about Warner Brothers as a whole, so my opinion is quite biased at the moment. So I'll just move on.
Jamie, where's your faith?
I have 5 minutes to give you my opinion. I was just checking the time. I did see the thing about the Marvel game. Just to tie that up at the start. I'm all for that. If we get a Injustice / Mortal Kombat level Marvel game from NetherRealm, gangbusters, it'll be wicked.
Yes.
In terms of how the studio is reportedly going to be split up, there's still a lot of murmurings around. You know, are they going to be sold off? Are certain, not necessarily IP, because you'll still have to license the rights, but a certain studio is going to be made available for acquisition. And with both Sony and Microsoft circling, you have to think that someone's going to go somewhere. Weirdly, I actually think it makes sense for NetherRealm to go somewhere. And my logic behind that is because of the rumors of the Marvel stuff. Like, you can't imagine that Warner Brothers, who are publishing a bunch of DC stuff and have the rights to that, Marvel and Disney are not going to get into bed with that, with the rights. Do you know what I mean? The rights to use Marvel characters. They're not going to go anywhere near it. So if that does happen, you have to think that NetherRealm either become independent or someone else is circling to purchase them, who can build that relationship and broker that deal with Disney and Marvel. The rest of their stuff, like, I agree with you, Dan. Like, it's weird to think that they haven't had something come out, but I think the pandemic affects that.
Yeah,
I think you buy them a year for sure. Like, we know that Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights were supposed to come this year. They quickly realized as this year struck in that was not going to happen, and everything, you know, it was swiftly delayed to next. I'm really disappointed about Hogwarts Legacy because we know that's been getting. They've been working on that since Arkham Origins, haven't they? The team that's been working on that have been at it for the best part of like eight or so years. We first heard rumors and saw demos of that, and was it 2013 or 14, where there's the leak footage that looked like a Hogwarts game? Yeah. That's so long ago. So you have to think that, one, it's going to be awesome when it comes out. Two, it better be fucking a big ass game when it comes out, because you know, I'm talking Witcher levels of depth. And again, like, they will have taken some revenue out of that, you know, when the Witcher TV show came out and it was like, oh, the Witcher's selling gangbusters again as a video game. WB are the publisher in a lot of countries for the Witcher, so they'll have taken a nice little kick off that as well. But yeah, I agree with Chunt. I don't like anything they're doing as a business. It's all just bad press. It's all bad rap. They've got such amazing IP to work with. Don't know why they could not organize a piss up in a brewery, that company. So the sooner that the development talent, so we're talking, NetherRealm, we're talking WB Montreal, the people building the video games, it'd be good for them to kind of get out from underneath that cloud and actually just, have some direction and management behind them that can push them in the right direction.
Yeah, well, Jamie, do you need to go, or what's I still got to have a spiel.
Yeah, I can hang for a few minutes.
All right. Well, so yeah, it's very interesting what you're talking about with the studios, because if they do get sold off, I think some can be independent, and then the question will always be like, all these studios would need distributors from somewhere, and especially if Warner Brothers being taken out of it, they're one of the other bigger distributors, so everyone's going to jump on that. And I was listening to a podcast or watching a video earlier this week, and they're talking about, because like right now inflation is being fucked up with because of COVID, like, or prices are going up, which is messing with what inflation would be. Normally what happens in these scenarios is that businesses, because they need something worth their money, is to go out and buy things. So it's kind of prime time for a lot of businesses to just go get into acquisitions, because they need their money to be worth something. So therefore they go put it in other businesses, other properties. So we thought there's been a lot of acquisitions lately. It could go out of control if the world keeps going like it's been going. And so, Sony might get into it, but 2K and EA have been purchasing studios out from underneath each other. Like, was it Codemasters? Like 2K were going to buy Codemasters for $800,000, and then EA came in and put in a bid for $1.2 million, and the deal was almost done. Like they've been competing with each other for a little while. So a lot of this stuff can happen, and interesting. And yeah, I'm interested to see where they'll go with these games. And they said AT&T might still hold on to ones. So do they just hold on to like your Lego, the games that are Lego minded? There's different ways you can go. And I think we're all big fans of Mortal Kombat, Injustice. If NetherRealm make a Marvel game, that's very interesting. But do they go the way of an IO Interactive and start doing it themselves? Because surely they're one of the more successful studios that Warner Brothers has. Like, they might be able 100%. To handle it on their own. Like Monolith, who made the Shadow of War, they may need someone to help them. They're not quite as renowned as like Rocksteady. It's very interesting to see what would happen and who would publish their games, or if they got bought out, or if they went on their own. Yeah, that's all I had. So we can finish up.
Nice.
We'll finish up.
Excellent.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Yeah.
Jamie, you look like you're about to burst out of your seat. So I'll say goodbye to you, sir.
I am about to burst out of my seat because I need to pee before my next phone call.
Excellent.
I'll see you next week, and thanks for everyone who's watching.
Right, definitely wash your hands, Jamie.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I'll definitely wash my hands.